Yesterday, I was invited to one of my new friends' homes because she is a master gardener, and I was talking about how my non-existent garden needed some plants. And she said, "Oh, come over, I'll give you some of mine." So we went over to her house, and we uprooted this guy. I don't even know what this is called, but as you can see, I don't know why I called it a he, but he's a little droopy and lonely. And if plants have emotions, feelings, there's some really interesting videos about how plants communicate with each other, like trees communicating with each other. It's really cool. I'll try to find the link and I'll post it below. But if plants had feelings, I would imagine this guy is feeling pretty crummy today because he can't even stand up straight. He got transplanted. He left his mom, his family, the mother plant he came from, and the whole interconnected root system of other plants that were holding him up. And so I do not have a green thumb. This is going to be a new experience for me. And I'm going to learn how to have a green thumb, and I'm going to take care of this plant. And what it reminded me of, and this is why I love nature, we can learn so many lessons from nature. It's God's gift to us to think and learn. These are also transplanted. Irises, I don't know what this is called, something Solomon. Purple irises. And I'm going to get some basil and herbs for the pots. But what it made me think is it's like leaving our religion. The reason why my friend was so happy to give me these plants is because her garden was overgrown and crowded, and she wanted to share and let plants that gave her joy give me joy. Paying it forward, giving, growing, expansion. That's what nature's all about, expansion. It also happens to be the energy of your liver. Chinese medicine, spring is correlated to liver. And if you think of that plant that can just force its way through the crack in the cement under like tons of pressure, that little plant can push through. That's the energy that resides in all of us. And when we can really capture the coherent energy of our livers, that hope, ambition, drive, survival instinct, we can become giant sequoia trees. It's not too windy over here. So speaking of plants, I personally have very negative feelings towards GMOs, genetically modified organisms. I work in a restaurant, and I cannot tell you how many people are coming in like the last 5-10 years with all these crazy allergies. Like everybody's allergic to wheat. They got people allergic to chicken and beef and nuts, of course, but all these things. And I feel it is indicative of what is going on globally when it comes to us, man, messing with our food. And it stems from greed. People argue, oh, we're feeding the planet now because we can grow these crops twice as many times in a year and they're sturdier and blah, blah, blah. Well, if that's your opinion, that's fine. You're entitled to it. I have my opinion, and I'm not here to start an argument about GMOs. But I was thinking about other modifications, especially when it comes to the gospel of grace. And of course, I couldn't help it. It made me think of Watchtower, and how Watchtower is like a grace modified organization. I spent a lot of time asking myself, did I preach the good news as the scriptures lay it out and describe it? Or, like Paul warned all of the fledgling new Christian congregations sprouting up around Asia Minor on his missionary tours, was I spreading a twisted gospel? Genetic grace modified organizations. That's what I came out of. And that's why I felt so sick and tired, spiritually starving. And now that I've put myself on a diet of grace only, the gospel undiluted with Watchtower commentary, although I can look at it, I can watch other people eating it, but this is actually the first month I am consciously choosing to not watch anything on JW broadcast. Literally up until last month, I watched every piece of propaganda that came out on that channel because I love the people inside, and it was my way of feeling connected to, I wanted to see what the group was thinking so that I could be of service to others. But like the old expression goes, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And so now I've reached the phase in my journey where I'm giving myself permission to fully extract myself from that food supply, because it makes me feel tired and like I feel the brain fog within 5 minutes of listening to it. And so maybe that's why, because one of the things I noticed, especially in the very, very beginning when I was first starting to wake up, so 4 years ago, was why have they dumbed down the literature and the message and the articles so much? They're talking to us like we're 5-year-old children. And of course the response was, because we're growing so fast in countries, in continents like Africa and South America, and because we love those brothers and sisters so much and they're new, we have to make it simple for them. I'm sure that's a specific logical fallacy, but I don't know the name of it off the top of my head right now, but that's not a good reason. So I encourage anybody listening right now to do some study and meditating on grace. And it is a free gift waiting for you to just open it and receive it. And it's not about being worthy or deserving or good enough, because it's for all of us. Another thing I feel moved to say, especially to anyone listening who is just starting to wake up and come out, and you're just being bombarded with all of these thoughts and feelings and doubts and fears and anxiety, and you're like, what do I do next? And you just don't know. Like in Jill's video, her experience, do you just rip it off like a Band-Aid? How do you do it? And again, I would say look to nature. If you have a fruit tree and it's spring and you see the flower and then the leaves come out, and then 3 or 4 months later, you finally have an apple. During that whole time, you're not going outside yelling at your apple tree saying, hurry up, I'm hungry. Give me an apple. Of course not. So just be kind and gentle and extremely patient with yourself. And you don't have to make any decisions. You can keep showing up at the hall and just kind of plug your ears to that GMO food. And focus on good things. Read scriptures about grace. I mean, when I was going for those 3 years, I used my time at the Kingdom Hall. It was a 2-hour break from my daily life, my responsibilities and chores, etc. So I kind of used that time in the Kingdom Hall to relax and just read the Bible. Sometimes, of course, I would go and I would get really irritated and angry, and that's okay too. Like, it's all okay. And it's easy to like compare yourself to others who started waking up years ago and be like, you want to be there? You want to have it figured out? But guess what? I don't have it figured out. So if you think that you're going to like get this great wisdom from my channel, you're not, because we're just climbing up the mountain together and enjoying the vistas and views each step of the way. I decided to come back to this little guy to just leave one closing thought. So this plant came from a garden that was extremely well cared for, but sometimes plants get transplanted because there's been like an oil spill or contamination, and you want to save something, and it gets transplanted. And that's kind of like all of us. We didn't want to leave our families. One of the things I'm being confronted with lately by a very, very devout family member who's still inside, who I love so much. But this person says things like, you split up our family. And I know this person's just really hurt, and he wants to blame me because it's still too painful to really look in the mirror of what you're a part of and take personal responsibility for being part of that organization. And so for anybody watching this video, the fact that you are doing your research, you're watching these videos, you're thinking, and you're facing these big issues of possibly having to extract yourself from family situations where you're being forced to believe something you no longer believe in because you see that it hurts people. And like this plant, you're going to be shocked in your new surroundings, a little droopy, but like I'm going to do with this plant, just give yourself a ton of self-love and open yourself to the possibility of feeling love from God, exploring what faith even means to you. Maybe you're on the agnostic spectrum, maybe you're an atheist, but I would just encourage you to like be open to the possibility of divinity, because it's so beautiful. When you feel it, you know it. Well, I'm looking forward to showing you better days of this plant, and we'll all celebrate that together, just like we're all celebrating each other in our freedom. God is not a dictator. This is the for real conclusion. You can drive to work with me. It takes 5 minutes. Someone in the comment section said that I need to smile more. I'm smiling. No, I'm a very serious person, and so, yeah, I need to smile more. We all need to smile more. And somebody else in the comment section said that women with short hair and tattoos are damaged. Well, I don't have any tattoos, and I don't have short hair, but I am damaged, so I think your formula is wrong. But the damage is fine. It builds character. And like a fractured bone, when you break it and it heals, it's actually stronger than it was before. I had mentioned in one of these clips that I'm going to edit together because I learned how to do that. I had this block. I'm like, I can't do this, but I can do it. I mentioned sequoia trees. Last year, we went to Yosemite, which was, wow, a spiritual experience. And we went in this grove, Mariposa Grove, of great sequoias. I could just sit there all day long and be with these trees. And what's so interesting about a sequoia tree is the seed it comes from is very small in comparison to the giant it becomes. This is, I don't know if you can see, like, this is not very big. This is a great sequoia pine cone. And these trees can only be born through fire. So unless wildfires come through these forests, there can never be a new growth of sequoias. And it made me think about the human spirit and survivors. Survivors are born through fire. And it reminds me of that scripture of how through fire we get to prove what we're made of. Are we, sorry, that's my water bottle. Are we just wood and sticks, or are we going to prove we're made of gold? And it's only by going through fire that we get to prove to ourselves what we really are. And then I was listening to something else about, the guy said, fires eat poison. And I'm like, what? Well, to us, like, they ingest carbon dioxide and turn it into oxygen. And I thought that was a really cool illustration for, like, what I want to be in the world is, like, take the negative and transform it into something positive and healthy. And we do that with our thoughts. And choosing to turn what's painful and negative, sometimes even poison, and making it good. So be like those sequoias, embrace the fire, you will survive. We're all here together. And that's the other thing about sequoias. They don't grow alone. They grow in groves because their roots are actually quite shallow, and the only way for the earth to sustain this huge organism is for them to grow with others. And I absolutely can only credit my growth to the fact that I made myself available to others to be helped and to help. And I will continue to do that. Like, when I was a kid, I just wanted to be a rock and an island, like that Simon and Garfunkel song, I'm a rock, I'm an island, I don't need anybody. And it's like, nope, that's not true. Well, I'm almost to work. Drove past the pelicans again. And why I'm so excited about these pelicans, I just wanted to say this. They've only been coming here to Lake Michigan for about the last 5 years. I don't know if it's because of global warming or whatever, but they changed their route, and so it's really a treat. They only stay for about 3 or 4 weeks. And so while they're here, it's just such a treat to see them. I'm smiling. Bye.